Jimin's cruel words shatter Jungkook in the middle of a concert. What dark secret made everything fall apart so suddenly? You should have never been part of this family. The words, sharp as glass, echoed across the backstage corridor like a gunshot, slicing through the thick air heavy with sweat, fog machines, and the distant roar of thousands of screaming fans. Jungkook stood frozen, chest heaving, sweat dripping from his brow, not from the performance but from the slap of reality that had just landed harder than any choreography ever could. His in-ears dangled around his neck, forgot. The hallway flickered under strobe light bleed from the stage, but it was the look in Jimin's eyes, cold, unwavering, that eclipsed everything. For a moment, time folded in on itself. Noise disappeared. The roar of the crowd turned into a low hum like a television left on in a distant room. Jungkook's lips trembled, not from exhaustion but from the weight of a betrayal he didn't see coming. The door behind them slammed open. 3 minutes, yelled a stagehand. You're on in 3. Jimin didn't flinch. He adjusted the cuff of his jacket, eyes still locked on Jungkook, then turned on his heel and walked away as if he hadn't just detonated the fragile thread holding them together. Jungkook's knees buckled slightly. He grabbed the edge of a metal case stacked with costume changes, his chest tightening with something far worse than anxiety. It was heartbreak, raw and unfiltered. What had he done to deserve this? Back on stage, the lights exploded in gold and crimson. The crowd was deafening. The intro to the next set echoed through the corridor like the drums of war. Jungkook wiped his face. He didn't even remember when he started crying, but the tears didn't stop. They couldn't. Not when everything was unraveling. Not when he was unraveling. It wasn't just a fight, not just a moment of heat. There had been something else in Jimin's tone, an edge of finality like this had been building, boiling under the surface, waiting for a crack. And tonight it had broken. As he stumbled onto the stage, the lights blinding, the cheers so loud they rattled his ribcage, Jungkook forced a smile that felt like broken glass. His voice didn't tremble, but his soul did. He moved like a machine, hitting each step with mechanical precision, heart nowhere to be found. Jimin was beside him, perfectly in sync, his face unreadable. To the crowd, they were perfect. The chemistry, the harmony, the magic. But on the inside, Jungkook was screaming. After the encore, the dressing room was chaos. Stylists pulling off soaked shirts, makeup artists dabbing sweat, managers shouting schedules, but to Jungkook it was all static. He sat on the bench, elbows on his knees, staring at the floor. Are you okay? Namjoon's voice cut through. Jungkook didn't look up, just nodded, eyes still burning. But Namjoon saw it, the puffiness, the tremble in his hand, the wet collar of his shirt, the way he kept clenching his jaw like it was the only thing holding him together. Did something happen? Jungkook shook his head once, but it wasn't convincing, not even to himself. The door slammed again. Jimin walked in, not sparing a glance at anyone, even as the room buzzed with the afterglow of performance. He went straight to his corner, grabbed his duffel bag, and left. Just like that. No words, no explanation. Just silence. That night, the headlines would be about their legendary performance. Fan cams of Jungkook's tears mid-chorus would go viral. So emotional, they'd say. He must really love us, they'd gush. No one knew the truth. No one knew that a sentence had shattered him more than any heartbreak ever could. And deep inside, a seed of something darker began to grow. Was this really about him? Or was there a secret, one only Jimin knew? As the city outside their hotel windows sparkled with careless joy, Jungkook curled into himself beneath a designer blanket, phone dark, heart aching, mind spinning. And somewhere, miles away, Jimin stood alone on a rooftop, cigarette burning low, watching the stars disappear behind a storm that neither of them was ready for. You think just because you cry on stage, everyone will believe you're the victim. Jimin's voice was low, laced with venom, echoing through the dark rehearsal studio where no cameras could see but every word could cut. Jungkook flinched, his hands clenched at his sides, the veins on his neck straining beneath the suffocating pressure of rage and disbelief. Don't do this, Jungkook said, his voice cracking. Not here, not like this. Oh, please, Jimin scoffed, laughing bitterly. You brought it here when you decided to throw yourself on the floor last night like some heartbroken puppy in front of thousands of fans. Jungkook took a step forward, eyes blazing, tears brimming but refusing to fall this time. You humiliated me backstage, Jimin. You knew what you were saying. You wanted me to break. Jimin's jaw tightened. There was a flicker, regret, fear. It vanished as fast as it appeared. I said what needed to be said. I'm tired of covering for you. Jungkook stared at him like he was a stranger. Covering for me? You think this is about image, about you looking good? The studio lights buzzed overhead, flickering as the tension between them surged like static. The walls that had once echoed with harmony now vibrated with unspoken secrets, lies, and years of silence cracking open like glass under pressure. You know damn well what this is about, Jimin growled, stepping close enough that Jungkook could see the fire in his eyes. You don't just get to act like nothing happened, not after what you did to him. There it was, the shift, the rupture. Jungkook staggered back as if punched. Don't bring him into this, don't you dare. Jimin's voice dropped to a whisper. He trusted you. And you? Jungkook's voice caught in his throat. His hands trembled as he pointed at Jimin. You stood there, you saw it all, you said nothing, and now you pretend like you were always the saint. Jimin looked away for the first time. Silence. Then if I could go back I would, but I can't, and neither can you. The door opened suddenly and Yoongi stepped in. His eyes darted between them, the heavy air wrapping around his lungs like smoke. Is this what it's going to be now? He asked flatly. Fights between songs, rumors on social media that we have to clean up because you two can't get your shit together. Jimin folded his arms. Tell that to him, he's the one crying for sympathy. Jungkook laughed bitterly. And you're the one who acts like he's above emotions. Yoongi walked in slowly, closing the door behind him. The company's pissed. They saw the fan cam. They saw you break down, Jungkook. They want an official explanation before this turns into a scandal. I was hurt, Jungkook snapped. I'm human. No. Jimin cut in coldly. You're a brand. There was a beat of stunned silence. Yoongi sighed and sat down on a nearby stool. They want a live tomorrow together, you and Jimin, laugh, smile, pretend everything's perfect. They'll write the script, you'll read it. Not a chance, Jungkook said. I won't lie to them. Then they'll make you, Jimin replied, almost too calmly. They always do. Yoongi stood again. You both think this is about you, but it's not. We're all connected. You tear each other apart, you tear us apart. The fans will see it, the press will spin it, and once that happens, it's over. The room fell silent. Later that night, a trending topic lit up Korean Twitter, Jungkook fallout. Speculations swirled. Fans analyzed every eye twitch, every missed interaction, every offbeat step from the last concert. Theories flooded every platform, and the truth was buried beneath assumptions and fanfiction. Back at the dorm, Jungkook stood in front of the bathroom mirror, staring at himself. His eyes were rimmed red, lips chapped, chest raw. He didn't recognize the man looking back at him. He splashed cold water on his face, hoping to drown whatever was growing inside. But no water could wash away guilt, or grief, or the memory of a boy who used to smile when Jimin looked at him. He heard the soft knock behind him. I'm not doing the live, he said. It's not about the live, Jimin's voice came through, quieter now. I just wanted to ask you one thing. Jungkook opened the door. Why did you lie? Jimin asked, eyes glinting with something deeper, pain, confusion, betrayal. I didn't, Jungkook said, but maybe you did. Jimin didn't respond. He only looked at him for a long moment, then turned and walked down the hall, his silhouette vanishing into the shadows of a dorm that used to feel like home. The next morning, an anonymous account leaked a blurry photo of Jungkook crying backstage. The caption read, "You don't cry like that unless your world's falling apart." And maybe it was. You want the truth? Fine, here it is. I wish it was you who left instead of him. Jimin's voice tore through the silence like a blade. Taehyung stood at the center of the room, his face blank, but Jungkook felt the air collapse around him. The rehearsal studio, once a sanctuary, now echoed with the weight of Jimin's words. Jungkook froze mid-step, his chest tightening as the sting spread through his limbs like venom. Taehyung shifted his gaze to Jungkook. He didn't move, didn't flinch. He just stared as if trying to calculate how much of that truth had already existed between the cracks of their fractured friendship. You don't mean that, Jungkook said, his voice raw, fragile. Jimin laughed bitterly, tossing his water bottle onto the floor. Don't I? You stood there while everything was falling apart and played the fucking hero, but you were the one who pushed him over the edge. Taehyung's jaw tensed. Stop it. No, Jimin snapped, turning on him. We all acted like it was some mystery, like we didn't know why he left, but deep down we knew. Jungkook was the reason he packed his bags in the middle of the night and disappeared without a goddamn word. That's enough, Taehyung said, stepping forward. You think yelling at him will fix it, you think hurting him makes it better. I think telling the truth finally feels better, Jimin barked. Jungkook couldn't breathe, his vision blurred, his hands curled into fists, but he couldn't move. Not yet. Not when his past was clawing its way into the open, dragging him down into the dirt he'd tried so hard to bury. He didn't leave because of me, Jungkook whispered. He left because he was tired, he couldn't handle the lies anymore, any of them. Then why did he only message me when he was on the plane? Jimin asked, stepping closer. Why did he say he couldn't face you? Jungkook looked up, eyes red, furious and terrified all at once. Because I loved him. The silence that followed was suffocating. Taehyung closed his eyes slowly, as if the room itself had stopped spinning. Jimin blinked, his lips parted but no sound came. Jungkook's voice trembled but he didn't hold back. I loved him, I didn't know what to do with it, I didn't know how to protect him without ruining everything else. I made mistakes, but I didn't leave. Jimin staggered back as if struck. You think staying makes you noble. No, Jungkook said, it makes me broken. For a moment, all the lights in the studio felt dimmer, the walls too close, the silence too loud, and beneath it all the truth pulsed like a second heartbeat, something none of them could run from anymore. Outside the studio, cameras waited. The rumors had grown teeth. Dispatch was circling like vultures. Private drama behind BTS's emotional concert. An insider claims there's a love triangle that tore the group apart. The headline appeared on every gossip site by nightfall. In the van on the way back to the dorm, Taehyung broke the silence. You loved him, did he love you back? Jungkook didn't answer. Jimin let out a cold chuckle. Of course he did, but love's not enough when you're hiding in a world that only accepts perfection. Don't pretend like you understand his pain better than I do, Jungkook snapped. I don't, Jimin admitted, but I was the only one who stayed in contact after he left. I was the one who knew when he tried to. He cut himself off. The van screeched to a stop. Taehyung stared. What? Jimin looked at the floor. There was a night, he texted me, said he was standing at the edge of a building, said the pressure was too much, the shame, the hiding, everything. No, Jungkook whispered, he didn't. He didn't go through with it, Jimin said. He got down, but after that night he blocked me too. No one's heard from him since. Jungkook turned away, tears sliding silently down his cheeks. You really think I wanted to hurt you? Jimin whispered. I blamed you because I couldn't forgive myself. Back at the dorm, chaos waited. Namjoon paced the living room with his phone to his ear. Yoongi sat at the kitchen counter, scrolling through tweets and articles that buzzed like angry bees in the hive of public scrutiny. Dispatch has a photo, Namjoon said. Someone sent them a screenshot of the text thread, Jimin and the message from Taehyung's brother's phone. They're saying it's about suicide, they're saying. They're right, Jimin interrupted. It was. No one spoke. Is this going to destroy us? Jungkook asked quietly, staring at the floor. Namjoon looked at him, then around the room. Only if we let it. Then let it, Jimin muttered. Maybe it's time the perfect facade burns. That night Jungkook posted a story. No words, just a blurry photo of a piano bench, a single hand resting beside sheet music, faint, familiar. And fans, rabid for answers, dissected every pixel. The comment section exploded. Is that him? Did he come back? What are you trying to tell us, Jungkook? He didn't respond. But somewhere late into the night, a private account with no followers and no posts sent him a message. I heard the song, you finished it. Jungkook stared at it for hours, his hands trembling, eyes wide, lungs frozen. And then slowly he typed. Come home. What if I don't want to be forgiven? Jungkook's voice cracked as he stared at the screen of his phone, the message still glowing like a phantom in the dark. Come home. No reply. Just the memory of a name he hadn't dared speak aloud in over a year, Hoseok. Outside the dorm, thunder rolled low over Seoul's skyline. Rain was coming. Inside, silence reigned like a tyrant. The kind of silence that thickened with every breath, every unspoken truth wedged in their throats. Taehyung stood in the kitchen, arms crossed, back against the counter, watching Jungkook like he was staring at a ghost. "You still love him," he said flatly. Jungkook didn't answer. He couldn't. His voice had gone somewhere unreachable. Jimin entered the room slowly, barefoot, disheveled. His eyes were sunken from lack of sleep, his expression unreadable, armor back in place. "I saw the message," he said. Jungkook didn't look at him. "I didn't send it for you." Jimin scoffed. "No, you sent it for the past, for guilt, for the version of him you're still chasing in your dreams." "Stop talking like you know everything," Jungkook snapped, standing suddenly. The chair scraped against the floor with a screech. "You think being cruel makes you honest? It doesn't, it just makes you lonely." Jimin's smile was thin, sharp, better lonely than delusional. Taehyung slammed a mug down onto the counter. "That's enough, both of you." But neither of them moved. Neither of them blinked. Jungkook stepped forward, his fists clenched at his sides. "You think I don't know I messed up, that I wasn't the reason Hoseok left? I was scared, we all were, but I loved him and none of you said a damn thing when he disappeared." "We didn't know how," Jimin muttered. "Bullshit," Jungkook hissed. "You knew, you just didn't want to." Taehyung spoke again, quieter this time. "He texted me too." Both Jimin and Jungkook turned to him in stunned silence. It was 3 weeks after he left, just a single voice note, no words, just the sound of a door closing, then a long breath. I listened to it for hours, trying to decode the silence. Jungkook's eyes welled with tears. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because you weren't ready," Taehyung said, "and maybe I wasn't either." Jimin left the kitchen without a word, his shoulders tight, the weight of his own guilt visibly pulling him down. The dorm wasn't a home anymore. It was a graveyard of conversations they never had. And yet the phone buzzed again. A new message from that same private account. "Meet me alone midnight, Studio 3. No name, no photo, but Jungkook knew. It was him. Midnight couldn't come fast enough. Every second until then was agony. The others tried to talk him out of it. "What if it's a hoax?" Namjoon asked. "What if it's dispatch setting a trap?" Yoongi warned. But none of it mattered. Because when your ghost finally whispers, you follow. Jungkook arrived at Studio 3 just before midnight. The hallway lights were dimmed, the door slightly ajar, his heart pounded like a drumline. He pushed the door open slowly. And there, in the center of the room, facing the piano with his back to the door, sat Hoseok. The air left Jungkook's lungs in a silent gasp. Same posture, same quiet presence. A little thinner maybe, his hair longer, shoulders narrower, but it was him, it was really him. "Hoseok." The name broke out of him like a sob. Hoseok turned around slowly, his eyes were tired but soft, haunted but alive. "I got your message," he said simply. Jungkook took a shaky step forward. "Why did you leave?" Hoseok's expression flickered, pain, shame, bitterness. "Because I was in love with someone who was too afraid to admit they loved me back." Jungkook's knees nearly buckled. "I wasn't afraid of you," he whispered. "I was afraid of everything else." Hoseok stood, his voice rising, emotion building in his chest like a storm. "Of the company, of the fans, of the world, or just of yourself?" "I thought I'd ruin you," Jungkook said, crying now. "I thought if I told the truth we'd both be destroyed." "We were destroyed anyway," Hoseok shouted. "Don't you get that? The silence did more damage than the truth ever could." Jungkook dropped to the floor, burying his face in his hands. "I wake up every day wishing I could go back." "I don't want you to go back," Hoseok said, stepping closer. "I want you to fight for now." Jungkook looked up slowly. "Why come back now?" Hoseok knelt in front of him. "Because I heard the song, and I knew it was written for me." "I never stopped writing for you," Jungkook whispered. They sat there in silence for a long time, not touching, just breathing, sharing the space between them that used to be a battlefield. Then Hoseok spoke again. "They're going to find out, everyone, what we had, what we lost." "I know," Jungkook said, "let them." Later that night, Jimin scrolled through Instagram and paused. Jungkook had posted a video, just 10 seconds. A piano, 2 hands, one familiar laugh muffled behind the camera. No caption. But it was enough. The internet caught fire. Is that Hoseok? Are they together again? Why are they hiding this? And somewhere in Seoul, an emergency meeting was called at HYBE HQ. Papers were slammed, lawyers were called. Because secrets, no matter how beautiful, are dangerous when exposed to the light. And this one had teeth. Either you deny it or we do. The conference room was cold, artificially so. Too many suits, too many eyes, too many truths hanging heavy in the air like a noose tightening with every breath. Jungkook sat at the end of the long table, fingers wrapped tightly around a lukewarm coffee cup he hadn't touched. His knuckles were white, his jaw locked. Across from him, the HYBE executive leaned forward, voice calm but sharp, weaponized professionalism. You have exactly 12 hours before dispatch drops the full story. They're giving us a window, use it wisely. Jungkook didn't speak. His eyes were blank, his mind replaying Hoseok's face from the night before, the way he'd smiled for the first time in months, the way his fingers had hovered over the piano keys like they were alive again. They had kissed after that. Soft, broken, desperate. It had tasted like goodbye, but it was. Because for the first time, Jungkook didn't want to run. You're risking everything for this, the executive added. The brand, the group, your entire legacy. Are you willing to take all of that down with you? Why do you talk about love like it's a crime? Jungkook asked. Finally. The room shifted, eyes darted, some turned away. Jimin was there too, sitting across the table, silent. He hadn't said a word since the meeting began. His expression was unreadable, but his foot tapped under the table, a tell Jungkook had known for years. He was nervous, angry, scared. Yoongi exhaled sharply. So what's the plan? We pretend the video was fake, AI-generated, deepfake. We're not denying it, Jungkook said firm. The room froze. Namjoon leaned forward. Are you sure about this? I'm not going to erase the one thing in my life that felt real just because it doesn't fit your narrative. He's not even in the company anymore, one of the PR managers snapped. He walked out. You're about to blow up everything for someone who's already out the door. Then maybe I'm ready to walk too, Jungkook said quietly. The words stunned even him, but he didn't take them back. The silence was deafening. Jimin stood abruptly. I'm done here. The door slammed behind him, echoing like a gunshot. Later in the hallway, Jungkook caught up with him. What's your problem? Jungkook asked, voice sharp. You really don't get it, do you? Jimin turned, furious. This isn't just about you. Everything we built, all of it is on the edge of collapse. You're dragging us down with you. No, Jungkook shot back. You're already sinking, you just don't want to admit it. I covered for you for years, Jimin growled. When Hoseok left, when you spiraled, when you disappeared into those damn studios for days, I kept it together. For you, I lied for you. I never asked you to lie. You didn't have to. Jungkook stepped closer, tears stinging his eyes now. I loved him, you hated me for it. I didn't hate you, Jimin said, softer now. I envied you. That hit like a slap. I didn't know what to do with that, Jimin continued. You had this thing, this love that felt bigger than anything else, and I was terrified of being left behind, of not being needed. Jungkook looked away. So you punished me. I punished all of us, Jimin admitted. I thought if I buried it, it would die, but it didn't. Outside, the rain finally began to fall. Taehyung was waiting by the elevators, arms crossed, expression unreadable. They're gonna bury you for this, he said to Jungkook. I know. You'll lose the endorsements, the shows, maybe the fans. I know. Taehyung stepped forward, eyes narrowing. Then why aren't you afraid? Because I already lost him once, Jungkook said, and I'm not going to lose him again just to be palatable. Taehyung let out a slow breath, then without a word he opened his phone, typed something and hit send. A second later his screen lit up. He showed it to Jungkook. It was a post on his personal story. A photo of Jungkook and Hoseok, arms linked, smiling, standing outside Studio 3. No caption, no filter, just truth. It's time people know, Taehyung said, no more secrets. By the next hour the internet was on fire. Young Hope. Let them love. HYB exposed. Taehyung supports love. Tweets flooded in, fandoms split in half, some celebrated, others raged. comment sections turned into battlegrounds, old interview clips were dug up, fan edits recontextualized, the narrative was no longer in the company's control. But Jungkook didn't care. That night he found Hoseok again. They didn't talk much, just sat by the window watching the storm outside, safe for once in the mess they created together. Hoseok leaned against him. "You really did it." "We did," Jungkook said, resting his head on Hoseok's shoulder. In the distance, a notification pinged. HYB had released a statement. "We are aware of recent developments. We are currently reviewing all contracts and assessing the future of involved parties." Jungkook read it, closed his phone, and turned to Hoseok. "I'd rather lose everything than lie one more day." And for the first time in over a year, Hoseok smiled like it was real. "Then let's lose it together. What are you going to do when they erase you?" Hoseok's voice was steady, but his eyes trembled as he asked the question. He stood in front of Jungkook in their old practice room, floor scuffed, mirrors cracked at the corners, the scent of rosin and sweat baked into the air like memory. Rain hit the windows hard, tapping like impatient fingers. Jungkook didn't flinch. He pulled his hoodie down, meeting Hoseok's gaze without fear. "Then they erase me." "You're not scared?" Hoseok asked, quieter now, not even a little. Jungkook looked at the grand piano in the corner, the one they used to write demo after demo on. The same piano where they sat side by side until the mornings blurred with night. He walked over, pressing one key gently, the note hanging in the room like a breath held too long. "I'm terrified," he whispered, but lying was worse. Outside the room, chaos brewed like a storm that wouldn't pass. HYBE had gone quiet after their vague, ominous statement. The legal team was mobilizing. Contract clauses were being dissected. Certain members had been pulled aside for private meetings. Company phones were confiscated. Managers were instructed to monitor social media activity and keep the idols on a tight leash. The building felt like a prison now. Yoongi kicked a chair in the lounge, packing as Namjoon tried to get through to someone from corporate. "They've locked down my calendar, canceled every recording session for the next 2 weeks. They're doing this quietly, cutting us out piece by piece." Namjoon rubbed his temples. "They want to wait until the fire dies before making it official, less backlash that way." "Let them," Jungkook said as he entered the room, Hoseok following silently behind him. All heads turned. It was the first time the others had seen them together in the daylight. Taehyung stood, arms crossed. "They're already drafting the press release, anonymous sources, creative differences, maybe a little emotional instability thrown in for flavor." Jungkook didn't blink. "Good, let them say everything." Jimin sat near the window, arms folded tightly over his chest. "You're going down swinging, huh?" Jungkook looked at him. "What else is there?" Jimin laughed once, sharp and bitter. "You really don't get it. This isn't some movie where love wins. This is our careers. This is everything." "It's not everything," Jungkook said. "It's just what we gave everything for." "You're right," Jimin said coldly, "and now we get to watch it all burn thanks to you." "Enough," Namjoon said, stepping between them. "We are not doing this now." But it was too late. Jimin stood, eyes ablaze. "Do you know what it feels like to work for 10 years, 10 fucking years, only for the headlines to be about who you're sleeping with instead of what you built?" Jungkook's voice shook, but his stance held. "Do you know what it's like to be in love and be told every day that it's a liability?" "I would have taken a bullet for this group," Jimin snarled. "And I would have taken one for him," Jungkook shot back, pointing at Hoseok. "That's the difference." For a moment the room felt like it would explode. Tension swirled like smoke, choking and dense. But Yoongi stepped forward, breaking the standoff. "This isn't about who's right, this is about who's ready." The words hit like truth. No one moved. No one spoke. And then the email came. An official notice from HYBE Legal. As of this notice, Jeon Jungkook is placed under temporary contract suspension pending internal review. All solo and group activities are paused. Further decisions will follow. The room went silent. Jungkook read the email once, then again. And smiled. Hoseok reached for his hand. No one tried to stop him. Not this time. The next morning, the world woke up to an earthquake of a broadcast. Jungkook went live. No script, no managers, no edits. Just him. Hair damp, voice steady, eyes tired but defiant. He didn't read off an apology, he didn't dodge. I'm not here to clean up a PR mess, I'm not here to explain rumors, I'm here to tell you the truth. He took a breath. I was in love with Jung Hoseok, I am in love with Jung Hoseok, and I will not apologize for that. Within minutes the internet imploded. Some fans screamed, some cried, some laughed, some raged, some left, many stayed. Jungkook continued. For years, I performed for you while hiding myself, I smiled while choking on secrets, I danced while drowning in guilt, and now that I've finally chosen to be honest, I accept whatever consequences come with that. He looked directly at the camera. To my brothers, I know this hurts, but I had to do this, for me, for him, for all the versions of us that were buried in silence. And then, in a moment that no one expected, Hoseok appeared behind him. Quietly, calmly, he placed a hand on Jungkook's shoulder. No words were needed. It was enough. And just like that, millions watched a scandal turn into a revolution. Later that night, Jimin stood alone in the practice room, lights dim, shadows long. He watched the livestream replay on his phone, over and over. At the part where Jungkook said, I loved him, I still do, he paused. And whispered to no one. So did I. Then slowly he pressed delete. Not the video, but a voice note. One he had recorded months ago. A confession. A breakdown. A goodbye he never sent. And maybe now he never would. I hope you know what you've started. Namjoon's voice was low, trembling with the kind of tension that came from holding everything together for too long. He was standing in the hallway outside the HYBE building, staring at Jungkook as if seeing him for the first time, not as a bandmate, not as a brother, but as a man who had just set fire to the very foundation they had spent a decade building. Jungkook didn't flinch. I didn't start anything, I ended the lie. Namjoon scoffed and looked away, hands shoved deep into his coat pockets. You ended the lie for you didn't ask if the rest of us were ready to be dragged into the light with you. I didn't need your permission to tell the truth, Jungkook snapped, not anymore. Inside the building, chaos was unfolding. The live stream had gone viral in every language. Major news outlets had picked up the story. Jungkook comes out on livestream was trending worldwide. Every forum, every chat group, every fandom page was ablaze with opinions, some supportive, some vicious, some heartbreakingly cruel. HYBE's PR team was in shambles. Sponsors were calling in, meetings were being cancelled, endorsements suspended. And somewhere in the middle of it all was a boy who finally stopped pretending, standing in the center of a storm he chose to walk into. Jimin watched from the stairwell hidden in the shadows. He had his phone in his hand, screen open to the stream's final frame. Jungkook, tear-streaked and smiling, Hoseok's hand on his shoulder like a declaration of war against silence. It should have made him angry. It didn't. It just made him feel small. Are you going to say something? Taehyung asked, suddenly beside him. Jimin jumped, quickly locking his phone. About what? About the fact that the entire world knows now, that we're next, that we're either brave or complicit. Jimin stared down at his feet. There's nothing left to say. That's not true, Taehyung said. You've just been silent so long you forgot how to speak without bleeding. Back in the dorm, Jungkook sat on the floor with Hoseok, both of them surrounded by silence that didn't feel suffocating anymore. It felt earned. It felt like survival. Do you regret it? Hoseok asked. Not for a second. But you're losing everything. Jungkook looked at him, eyes steady. Then let me lose it, but at least let me choose what matters. A knock at the door interrupted the moment. It was Yoongi. He stepped in, face unreadable, voice neutral. They're offering you a deal. Jungkook stood. What kind of deal? A press conference? Scripted? You say you were under stress. You say the video was personal and misinterpreted. They won't force you to lie, just twist it, enough to cool the fire. And if I do? They'll terminate your contract. You'll be cut from group promotions. No farewell tour, no solo activities. They'll blacklist you from every major outlet, quietly, effectively. Jungkook was silent. Yoongi added, they offered me a choice too, stay neutral or go down with you. Jungkook's eyes searched his, and I told them to fuck themselves. Hoseok let out a soft laugh, stunned. You didn't. I did, Yoongi shrugged. Because I'm tired too, of lying, of smiling for cameras that don't care if we live or die as long as we sparkle while we rot. Jungkook blinked hard, thank you. Yoongi walked over, placing a hand on his shoulder. You may have started this war, but don't think you'll fight it alone. That night Jimin couldn't sleep. He kept playing one line over and over in his head. You forgot how to speak without bleeding. He got up, barefoot, walking to the rooftop of the dorm building. The city lights burned below, mocking and distant. He pulled out his phone and opened the old voice note again, the one he nearly deleted. He hit play. His own voice filled the air, shaky and raw. I loved you too, but I loved being perfect more, and now I don't know who I am without the lie. Tears welled in his eyes, but he didn't cry. Not until he heard his own voice say, sometimes I wish I'd told you, just once, before he did. The next morning, the world turned again. Jimin posted to his official Instagram. It wasn't a photo. It was a black screen with a caption. We were never allowed to be human, until one of us finally chose to be. Within hours, HYBE's silence cracked. Their damage control statement backfired. More members spoke up, Taehyung with a cryptic poem on Weverse. Yoongi with a late-night radio appearance saying, art isn't meant to survive by sacrificing the artist. The fandoms were in chaos. But something beautiful happened too. Others started coming forward, not just idols, trainees, choreographers, backup dancers, stylists, people who had been silenced for years, people who had been forced to hide. It wasn't just a scandal anymore. It was a movement. And at the center of it all, Jungkook and Hoseok, still quiet, still present, stood without apology. They were no longer part of a brand. They were part of a truth that couldn't be stopped. And that night in the old studio, they finished the song. The one they started before it all fell apart. Jungkook sang it. Hoseok played it. And in the chorus, their voices met again, flawed, trembling, honest. Like love. Like war. Like freedom. The air inside the arena was thick, not with excitement, but with tension so dense it made the lights seem dimmer and every sound feel distant, like the calm before something enormous broke loose. The banners were still hanging. Fans were still screaming, but behind the stage the world was splitting open. You're seriously going out there? The manager asked, his voice sharp with panic. After everything, do you know what you're risking? Jungkook stood silently, already in his earpiece and mic, dressed in black from head to toe. Hoseok stood next to him, not dressed for performance but here, present, defiant. I'm not here to risk something, Jungkook said. I'm here to finish something. They're going to kill this group, the manager said, voice rising. You realize that, right? You're handing them the knife. No, Yoongi said from the corner, stepping forward. He's showing them we're not afraid of the wound. The dressing room door slammed open. Namjoon entered, face flushed with heat and frustration. They just confirmed it, he said. HYBE's issuing a dissolution vote for the group's current structure. If this performance goes forward with Hoseok on stage, they'll accelerate contract terminations. No warnings, no negotiations. Jungkook didn't even blink, let them. Namjoon looked around at the rest of them. Jimin was sitting in the corner, unusually quiet. Taehyung leaned against the wall, arms crossed, eyes locked on the floor. Silence hung like fog, heavy and suffocating. Then Jimin stood. I'm going too. Every eye turned toward him. No one's asking you to, Namjoon said gently. Jimin looked at Jungkook. I should have done it before, but I let fear win. I won't do that again. Hoseok smiled softly. And then Taehyung spoke. I already told my family. I said if this ends everything, at least it ends honestly. Yoongi smirked, arms folded. You think I'd miss a final act of sabotage, please? Namjoon sighed, running a hand through his hair, the weight of 10 years carved into his spine. Then let's burn together. No one said another word. They didn't need to. Because the truth was no longer a secret, it was a torch. And they were walking straight into the fire. The crowd erupted as the lights dimmed. The intro began, not one of their pre-approved tracks but a new one, unreleased, unpolished, unapologetically theirs. The stage lights rose on all of them, Jungkook at center, Hoseok by the piano, Jimin to the left, Taehyung to the right, Yoongi behind his mic stand, Namjoon at the front with his hand clenched around the cord of a mic like it was a lifeline. The first verse hit and Jungkook sang not with perfection but with pain, with relief, with the kind of clarity that only comes after you've destroyed everything just to feel alive. Midway through the second chorus, the screen behind them lit up. Not with visuals, but with text. White letters on black. We lied to protect the machine, we suffered in silence, we gave you everything but the truth, tonight we give you that too. There was a gasp from the audience. Then another message. We are not your fantasy, we are human. Cameras were rolling. The live stream didn't cut. Because no one behind the scenes had dared to pull the plug. They were too stunned. The final verse came, Jungkook stepped aside, Hoseok stood. And sang. It was his voice that broke the room in half. His voice that cracked, faltered, rose again. It was raw, a voice not heard on stage in over a year, a voice the world thought they'd lost. And then they all sang. Together. Not like idols. But like survivors. The screen behind them faded to black. And a single final message appeared. We choose each other, even if the world doesn't. The arena exploded. Some fans screamed, some sobbed, some stood in stunned silence, not sure what they were witnessing, an end or a beginning. But backstage, the fallout was already underway. Lawyers on the phone, executives shouting, statements being drafted, phones ringing in the pockets of every major label on the planet. HYB couldn't stop it now. Because the truth was out. And truth doesn't fit back into a cage once it's been set free. The next morning, headlines dominated the globe. BTS implodes on stage in final defiant act. Jimin, Jungkook and Jung Hoseok break K-pop's most sacred rule, honesty. Is this the end of BTS as we know it? But in a quiet cafe on the edge of the city, away from the cameras, they all sat at a table together. No makeup, no bodyguards, just them. Silent but whole. Jimin stirred his coffee absent-mindedly. I thought I'd feel more empty, he said. Taehyung looked out the window. Maybe the emptiness was the lie. Yoongi lit a cigarette, ignoring the no smoking sign. They'll blacklist us, you know that, right? Jungkook nodded, let them try. Namjoon cracked a rare smile. We'll build something else, something they can't own. And Hoseok finally at peace, looked at all of them and said, so this is what freedom tastes like. Jungkook took his hand under the table. And for once no one looked away. The world outside might never understand, the legacy they built might crumble under the weight of truth. But they had reclaimed their names, their voices, their hearts. Not for approval, but for survival. And as the sun rose over a city that no longer owned them, they knew. This wasn't the end. It was the first real beginning.